The rise of techno-feudalism. When Silicon Valley became our new feudal court, picture this. You wake up to an alarm on your smartphone. Check notifications from platforms that know your habits better than you do. Order breakfast through an app that takes a cut of every transaction. Then spend your day creating content for a platform that owns everything you build while giving you a fraction of the revenue. Sleep. You scroll through an endless feed of targeted advertisements designed to manufacture desires you didn't know you had. This isn't dystopian fiction, it's Tuesday. We tell ourselves we live in the age of unprecedented freedom, but technology has liberated us from the rigid hierarchies of the past. Yet something profound has shifted beneath the surface of our digital lives. According to economist Yanis Varoufakis, we haven't transcended the old systems of power. We've simply given them new names and sleeker interfaces. His provocative thesis? Capitalism is dead. In its place has risen something far more insidious. Techno-feudalism, a system where big tech companies have become our new feudal lords, and we, willingly or not, have become their digital serfs. But what does this mean for the way we work, think, and exist? And more importantly, what does it mean for human freedom itself? To grasp techno-feudalism, we must first understand what feudalism actually was and why it might be returning in silicon clothing. Medieval feudalism wasn't simply about knights and castles. At its core, it was an economic system built on a simple premise. A small elite controlled the essential resource, land, while the majority worked that land in exchange for protection and survival. Serfs couldn't simply choose another lord. They were bound to the land, economically dependent, with no realistic alternative. The feudal lords didn't create value themselves. They controlled access to the means of production, the land, and extracted tribute from those who did the actual work. Sound familiar? Varoufakis argues that today's tech giants operate on an eerily similar model with one crucial difference. Instead of controlling physical land, they control something even more valuable in our digital age: cloud space data and the algorithms that govern our online existence. Consider YouTube. The platform itself creates virtually no content. Instead, millions of creators generate videos, build audiences, and create value. In return, YouTube takes 45% of advertising revenue, not for making the content, but simply for providing the digital space where that content can exist and be discovered. This isn't employment in the traditional capitalist sense. YouTube creators aren't workers with labor rights. They're users renting cloud space, paying tribute to the platform owner for the privilege of existing in the digital realm. Traditional capitalism, for all its flaws, operated on a different logic. Companies like Ford manufactured their own products. They employed workers, created value, and sold goods in competitive markets. Capital was invested in production, and profit came from selling what you made. But the tech giants don't make products in this traditional sense. Amazon doesn't manufacture most of what it sells. It provides a marketplace. Facebook doesn't create content. It harvests user data. Google doesn't produce information. It organizes and monetizes our searches and digital behaviors. Instead of investing capital in production, these companies invest in platforms that extract value from user activity. They've essentially privatized the digital commons, turning the free, open internet into enclosed spaces where they can charge rent for access. This represents a fundamental shift from an economy based on production to one based on extraction. The tech lords don't need factories or raw materials. They need only our participation, our data, our content, and our economic dependence on their platforms. In this new hierarchy, we can identify three distinct classes. The cloudalists, the tech oligarchs who own and control the platforms. Like feudal lords, they extract tribute without producing value themselves. The cloud serfs, content creators, gig workers, and small businesses who depend on platforms for their livelihood. They do the work but hand over a portion of their earnings as cloud rent. The cloud pros, the low-wage workers in warehouses, data centers, and content moderation facilities who keep the digital infrastructure running. But perhaps most insidiously, there's a fourth category. All of us as users who provide free labor by creating profiles, generating data, and engaging with content, all of which feeds the algorithmic systems that generate massive profits for platform owners. Consider Maria, a graphic designer who depends on platforms like Etsy, Instagram, and Amazon to sell her artwork. She creates original designs, builds her brand, and engages with customers, all the real work of her business. Yet she's entirely dependent on algorithmic systems controlled by others. If Instagram changes its algorithm, her visibility plummets. If Amazon suspends her account, her income disappears overnight. If Etsy modifies its fee structure, her profit margins vanish. She has no recourse, no appeal process, no democratic voice in decisions that determine her economic survival. Unlike traditional employment, where labor laws provide some protection, platform dependence offers none. Maria isn't an employee. She's a user who can be dismissed at will, often without explanation. This represents a profound erosion of economic agency. In traditional capitalism, workers could organize, negotiate, or find alternative employment. In techno-feudalism, serfs are bound to their platforms by economic necessity, with increasingly few alternatives as big tech consolidates market power. As consumers, we might assume we're the beneficiaries of this system. After all, we get convenient services, often seemingly for free. We can order anything on Amazon, connect with friends on social media, and access unlimited entertainment on streaming platforms. But this convenience comes at a hidden cost: our behavioral autonomy. These platforms don't just provide services, they actively shape our desires, opinions, and choices. Amazon doesn't simply sell us products. Its algorithms create personalized shopping experiences designed to maximize purchases. Facebook doesn't just connect us with friends. It curates our news feeds to maximize engagement, often by promoting content that triggers strong emotional responses. The data we generate through our interactions becomes the raw material for increasingly sophisticated manipulation. Every click, search, pause, and scroll feeds machine learning systems that become better at predicting and influencing our behavior. We're not just consumers, we're being consumed. In traditional advertising, companies tried to persuade us to buy their products. In the age of techno-feudalism, platforms don't just advertise to us, they manufacture our desires themselves. By analyzing our data, these systems can identify our vulnerabilities, insecurities, and psychological triggers. They can determine the optimal time to show us advertisements, the precise emotional state that makes us most likely to purchase, and the specific fears or aspirations that drive our decisions. But this manipulation extends far beyond commerce. The same algorithmic systems that sell us products also curate our information diet, determining what news we see, which opinions we encounter, and how we understand reality itself. If you express interest in environmental issues, the algorithm might flood you with climate disaster content, not because it's the most important information, but because it generates engagement. If you show conservative political leanings, you might be fed increasingly extreme content, not because it's true or helpful, but because it keeps you clicking. The result is a fragmented reality where different groups of people live in entirely different information universes, each tailored to maximize their engagement with the platform. This brings us to a fundamental philosophical question. In a system where our choices are increasingly predicted, manufactured, and manipulated by algorithmic systems, what remains of human freedom? The existentialist tradition emphasizes that human dignity lies in our capacity for authentic choice, our ability to define our own values and create meaning in our lives. But if our preferences are shaped by algorithms optimized for corporate profit, can we still claim authentic agency? Consider the Uber driver whose work schedule, routes, and earnings are determined by algorithmic systems designed to maximize platform profit. Their decisions, when to work, where to go, how much to charge, are increasingly constrained by the platform's logic rather than their own judgment. Or consider the social media user whose opinions are gradually shaped by algorithmic curation, designed to increase engagement rather than promote truth or understanding. In both cases, human agency is being subtly but systematically eroded. We retain the illusion of choice while operating within increasingly narrow parameters, defined by systems we neither understand nor control. Perhaps most troubling is the concentration of information control in the hands of a few tech oligarchs. In democratic societies, the free flow of information is supposed to enable informed citizen participation. But when a handful of companies control the algorithms that determine what information billions of people see, they wield unprecedented power over public opinion and political processes. This isn't theoretical. We've seen how platform changes can affect election outcomes, how algorithmic bias can amplify social divisions, and how the same tools used for targeted advertising can be weaponized for political manipulation. The feudal lords of old controlled economic life. The new cloudlists control both economic life and the information environment that shapes our understanding of reality itself. Faced with this analysis, we might feel overwhelmed, trapped within systems too large and complex to resist. But history shows us that even the most entrenched power structures contain the seeds of their own transformation. The question isn't whether we can immediately overthrow techno-feudalism, it's whether we can maintain and cultivate spaces of genuine autonomy within it. This begins with awareness. Recognizing the ways these systems shape our behavior is the first step toward reclaiming agency. When we understand that our desires are often manufactured, our choices manipulated, and our attention commodified, we can begin to make more conscious decisions about our relationship with technology. Practical resistance might include digital minimalism, consciously limiting our dependence on platforms that extract value from our participation. Privacy protection, using tools and practices that limit data collection and algorithmic manipulation. Economic diversification, reducing reliance on any single platform or tech company for our livelihood. Critical media literacy, developing the skills to recognize and resist algorithmic manipulation of our information diet. Supporting alternatives, choosing decentralized, open source, or democratically governed platforms when possible. Ultimately, the rise of techno-feudalism forces us to confront a fundamental question about human nature and dignity. Are we primarily consumers and producers of data, or are we beings capable of authentic choice, genuine relationships, and self-determined meaning? The cloudalists would have us believe the former, that we are essentially sophisticated data points to be optimized for engagement and extraction. Their business models depend on treating human consciousness as a resource to be harvested rather than a dignity to be respected. But we retain the power to assert the latter. Even within systems designed to predict and control our behavior, we can cultivate practices of reflection, resistance, and conscious choice. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who knew something about living under oppressive systems, taught that our freedom lies not in controlling external circumstances, but in choosing our responses to them. We may not be able to immediately transform the techno-feudal system, but we can transform our relationship to it. This isn't about retreating from technology entirely. That would be neither practical nor desirable for most people. Rather, it is about approaching our digital lives with the same intentionality we might bring to other aspects of human flourishing. As we navigate this new landscape, we face a choice that no algorithm can make for us. Will we consciously engage with the question of how to live as free human beings in an age of digital feudalism, or will we simply drift along with systems designed to extract value from our unconscious participation? The rise of techno-feudalism represents a profound challenge to human agency and dignity. But it also presents an opportunity to become more conscious about our choices, more intentional about our values, and more committed to practices that preserve and cultivate genuine human freedom. The feudal lords of Silicon Valley may control the cloud, but they cannot control the clarity of our thinking, the authenticity of our relationships, or the depth of our commitment to living as conscious, choosing beings. In the end, this may be the most subversive act of all, to live as fully human in a system designed to treat us as anything but. The choice is ours. For now, that choice remains the one thing that truly belongs to us and the one thing most worth protecting.